In this video, we will find the domain and range of linear equations. Pictured are primary vocabulary words that you should ensure you are familiar with. If you're not, I recommend that you look in prior notes and possibly videos online. Number 3, the owner of a business purchased a work van for $62,500. The van depreciates at a rate of $6,250 per year. The function represents the relationship between the cost of the van and its yearly depreciation. Which inequality best represents the domain of the function? Okay, to solve number 3 using the TI-30, we need to push the table function, okay, and clear out what we have and enter our given equation, the expression part, of course, 62500 minus 6250x. Okay, and remember, this 62,500, that is the initial value or a B value. Okay, and I say that for a reason. So they're asking us for the domain, and the domain implies we're looking at X. We're looking at values of X. Okay, so this means anything with Y would imply range. So that's not part of our choices. That's not a valid selection. Okay, now we have B and D. Well, just out of logic and looking at the numbers, they both start at 0. Okay, well that would be the when we buy it. We buy it, we're beginning at 0. And then we take it off the lot. Each day it adds up our years, 1 year, 2 years. So, and it says yearly depreciation. So this tells us whole numbers are involved. Well, if we're going to start at 0 and we're talking years, it is illogical to think that X is going to go from 0 to 62 2,500 years. I mean, that would be incredible. It'd be great. We never have to buy another vehicle, but it doesn't make sense. Okay. And you're like, well, why are we using our calculator? Let me show you, because other options may not be so captain obvious. Okay. So let's push enter. And I'm going to start at 0, just like my options here. All my options start at 0. Well, I need to show that I'm going to end at 10. Okay. So I'm going in steps of 1 because we're talking yearly. Okay. And now I'm going to go down. I want auto because I know I start at 0 on my table, 0 years, but I don't know where I'm going to end. And I need to end at 10 if this question is valid. Okay, so let's push until we get our table. There's our table. Now, if you go up, you'll see that there's a -1. Well, we're not discussing negative years, obviously. The calculator gives us all the values that seem valid to the calculator, but we're the ones who have to understand how to read the calculator. Okay, now there's 0 years. We just bought it. Now at 1 year and 2 years, and notice the value in the Y column is going down and it's depreciating and it's going down. It is decreasing until we get a 0 in the Y. Well, that's the end. That is when, according to bookkeeping, that the van doesn't have a sellable value. It doesn't have that value maybe that the company needs. And at this point, they might consider selling it. Now, that doesn't mean it isn't usable, doesn't mean that it isn't still in good condition. It's a bookkeeping thing. Okay, so this tells us that we've gone our 10 years and we're at a 0 value. It has no value for the business, really. Okay, so now we know and we have proven our option B. It is a valid option. Notice we have less than and equal to, meaning our years can equal 0. And then our years can equal 10. because we're not going past 10. And watch what happens when I go past 10 years. We go into a negative value. Well, usually how you could see this, and in most cases, I mean, it's not exactly perfect bookkeeping, but it shows that as time goes by, the company will have to start putting more money into that van than it had in the past. Okay? All right, let's try a different calculator. Using the TI-84, we'll do the same thing as the TI-30. We enter the equation into the calculator, but we will use the y equals. Okay, I already have it entered in. Then what do we need to do? The same thing. We are looking for the domain. And remember, domain implies x values. So you would mark out all your y's. And then also, domain is usually time, and our time is in years. Okay. And then the y, of course, will be the answer, the actual values as they decrease. But let's take a look at that. Okay, so let's graph this. Okay, mine turns out very nice. Okay, the presentation. It looks good. But for some of you, you may get a different look. You've got to play around with your calculator sometimes to get it to look right. It's one of the flaws in your TI-84. Okay, you can push standard, which is 6, and see how you don't see anything because the values are too large. So you could play the zoom game, yes, or you could try zoom again. When I mean zoom game, I mean the zoom. Oh, let's zoom out, let's zoom out, let's zoom out. That's a little tedious and time consuming. You could try your number 9. Still nothing. Now I'm going to try 0. Here, let me go down and show you. There are other zoom options. Okay, and if your calculator hasn't been updated recently, I would make an effort to do that. Okay, so what I like to do is try 0 in these cases, but then it's a little too close. So go to zoom and let's try something else. You can zoom up to get those ones that I zoomed down to get to earlier. Okay, let's try. Now, I can tell you right now, I've tried A before, but that's only quadrant 1, and it's not going to look like what you think. So I go for B and try B, but I arrow up to it. You could do alpha and then find the B, sure, but I don't bother with that. Okay, so I'm on the half. I press enter. It's not going to help either. Like I said, you have a tedious situation. So let me zoom up, and we have A, quadrant 1. That's worse. I know it's just very frustrating. And sometimes when I find it, I can't even tell you how I found it. So let's try 0 again. See, it all depends. When you play around with it, remember before I tried 0, it didn't look like this. So sometimes you have to go through a series, okay, to find what you need. Now, why am I saying this? Well, I'm going to use trace, and I could have used trace before, but I wanted a little bit closer look. And I could count my little marks here: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. It doesn't quite look like it's on 10. Okay, so that would be a little ambiguous if you're trying to look at it. Or you could just do trace and see where my little cursor is there. And you use your arrow over, your right arrow, and just keep pushing it. And that's another way to get what you need. And as you see, I have 10 is at 0, which is telling me it ends at 10 years. And of course, I could get in the negative. We don't want that because that's invalid for this particular situation. Okay, there's also another way. There are other ways to do this. So we push second and trace, which gets me calculate or calc. Okay, and then we want number 2, which means find the zero. And you want a left bound and a right bound. So type in your left bound. So looks like we're somewhere around 10. So I'm going to enter 9. So 9, enter. And then I'm going to go past 10 and go to 11. 11, enter. Okay, and then enter again. And it gives you your exact zero. So we are good with our estimate, even though visually it looked like it was going, it was actually crossing the x-axis before the 10. The truth is it's on 10. And then we can also verify that with second graph to go to our table. But look at what I've done with my table. My table is on ask, okay? And remember that for this, you can go second and zoom. Oh, I'm sorry, second window. Excuse me on that. Okay, so second window. And above that, it says table set. And you see it's on ask. We could go to auto and go up and down on our table if we want to, or we can continue to use ask. Okay, so second graph, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and you see it's going down. But let's try 10 again. 10, enter, and there you go. It ends at 0, so we need 0 to 10 years is when our depreciation amount actually ends, okay? Which means that, or proves that D is invalid because this value actually doesn't make sense because it's the B value, okay? All right, let's try another calculator. For the TI-Nspire, we need to graph the equation by selecting graphs. So arrow down, highlight your graph, or go to select the image of a graph, the blue one. Either way, when I'm using my computer, it's a little different. I can't go to things the same way. Now, I could go here and maybe negotiate to it. See, now it gives me the wrong thing. Let's go back to the home screen. It's a little different for me. So I'm just going to arrow down and I'm highlighted on graph, go to enter. And again, you see the image. This is an old item. I don't want to use that. I need a fresh slate. So let's go to document and then I want a new document. Go to doc and I want new. What do I want to do in my new one? I want number 2, add a graph. So I'm going to enter because I've highlighted it. And now I have a nice clean slate to type in. So let's do that. We need 62500 minus 6250x. I've typed in my equation, double check, make sure it's correct. Now we enter it so the calculator can read it. And I enter, and it changes to a window, but I don't see what I need. That is because I need to zoom fit to fit it in my window. So what do? Menu, go to number 4, where it says window, zoom, okay? And I'm not going to do zoom out yet. I'm going to do zoom fit. Okay, now I see my line, and I can gauge what I need for the domain, okay? So I know that domain implies X, and then anything with a Y value is out. And yeah, that is actually an X. I don't write the best X in the world. That is an X. That's somewhat better. Okay, that being said, D, the option D doesn't make sense because this value here is the same as my B value, and B values are on the y-axis. We are dealing with domain. Domain is only the x-axis. So that alone makes option D invalid. So just by graphing it, we can validate option B. We can verify it. But let's take it a little bit further, okay? So what if it was even harder to see or you hadn't watched another video or whatever, okay? Let's do this. Let's go to menu. And I'm going to go ahead and zoom out. Oh, I don't. Ooh, here, let's go back to it. Sorry about that. It's very different with my pen. Let's see. Go back to menu, zoom. Here, let me see if I can get it There it is. And zoom out. Even if you play with it with your little center mouse on your handheld, it's gonna be a little challenging to get used to it. So I'm just gonna enter once to zoom out. Now I have something to deal with. Now let's move. Uh-oh, it keeps zooming out on me. Okay. Now I'm gonna try to move it down. Okay, this is where I want it, and as you can see where it crosses, but let's use the menu again and let's analyze the graph. And we're going to analyze it by finding a 0. Okay, that says where does it cross the x-axis? That's what I want, number 1. So I have it highlighted. I'm going to come over and enter. And now I have my little pointer here. First, I just tap once. You can use your little center mouse on the lower part. So you see here where you think it crosses at 10, I'm sure. But we go ahead and just go to the left of it, tap once, and then drag. And as you drag, it shows you where the 0 is. Tap again, and it still says this is the 0, and that is where it crosses at 10, 0. So we know that on the x-axis, logic says, okay, that we're in quadrant 1, so that would be 0 to 10, which again verifies option B. Okay, now we can try to add a table. Actually, we will add a table. So let's go back to menu, and we can verify with the table. Go to number 7, and I want split screen. Push that, and there it is. Enter on that, and it should let me arrow down. Let's see. There you go. And keep arrowing down until you see that 0. And there it is. X is 10, Y is 0. Another way to verify option B. All right. Let's move on, and we can try another calculator. Okay, for your Desmos calculator, and as you can see, I'm using the TExES version because most of our students, that's what they have to use for testing, and it depends on your class in your district. But I'm going to use this one just for safety. It's going to be the same result, no matter which version you use. Okay, so I have it set up, ready to go. So let's type in our equation. I'm going to use our little keyboard here. So you click on it and it comes up. So we have 62500 minus 6250 and x. Okay, we don't see anything. Why do we not see anything? Actually, it's green and it looks like it's over here on this side. So I'm going to pull it over and there it is. That's just a coincidence. So let's zoom out. Well, that's not really, it is kind of helpful, but not helpful enough. So let me show you what to do. We need to change the screen. Okay, so notice we have thousands going on. Okay, so let's push our little gear. Okay, I have the major axis off. You see, I can turn them on and off in the background. I'm going to turn it back on and then I'll turn it off later. Okay, and you see, I have steps. I have steps set up. So I have our X value is in steps of 1. So the screen, I'm going to put that on, let's say -1. Okay. And then my X, then I need to get it to go to, let's say 11, because I want to prove that I need 0 to 10. Okay. Now my Y. Let's go, let's say -1. Oh, -3 is good, not too far down. Now at the top, remember, I need it. I know that my B value rather is a very large number. Here's my B value. That's where it's going to cross my x-axis. So let's put in, uh, I've got 10,000s here. I mean, thousands. I've got it reading the graph by steps 1,000. So let's go over, let's say 6. So how much of a window? I'm changing the windows, what I'm doing. So let's say 63500. So let's go over. Let's go above it just a little. Now, as you can see in the background, it's changed. Let's see what that looks like. So just tap on the graph. Oh, and look, it has done. I mean, it's pretty good, but I'm still having trouble seeing it because I reduced my calculator more to the size of what a student would see during testing. And they're really good. You guys are good as far as students seeing, knowing how to stretch this thing around. Let's just zoom out just one more. There we go. It's all in view. And then we can hover and tap rather, right over. There's our B value. That's where it crosses our y-axis. And now tap here, and you have where our line crosses the x-axis, and that verifies option B. Because remember, domain is our x values, right? Oh, that's not a very good x. I apologize for that. Okay. And we know that because it's domain, we are not going to select any y values at all. Now, our x values along our x-axis, we know that we need to start at 0. We would go from 0 to 10 because we're discussing years and it's real world, so we have no negative values. Okay, so that would mean option B for us. And option D makes no sense because this is a B value. Okay. And that implies it's on the x axis. And I'm sorry, not the x axis, the y axis. And we are only concerned with the x axis. So option D actually makes no sense. Thank you for watching. If you would like the materials that accompany these videos, you can visit us at numbersarenadical.com. And once again, everyone, happy testing.